Welcome, everyone, to the first episode of Afternoon at the Museum for 2021. I'm Janine Stanley, the Director of Customer Communications here at Aira, and joining us on this episode are Ryan Bishop and the host of the broadcast, Miss Stephanie Watts, Agent Julia, and a special guest today from Shedd Aquarium, live from Shedd, in fact, experienced designer Ashleigh Braggs. We're going to begin our show with a moment of silence. As many of you know, Afternoon at the Museum began to highlight the culture and Black Lives Matter movement for Blacks in America, and unfortunately we have had yet another incident of a police shooting of a Black man in Texas. And we're going to observe a moment of silence and condolences to the family of Patrick Warren from Texas. And thank you for that bit of silence as we speak the names. Now, on to Afternoon at the Museum. Stephanie, I'm going to turn it over to you and Julia to take a look at some of the online content of the museum, because even though the museum is closed to the public, there are still a number of things that folks can do online, and we were excited to see that. So away we go.
And again, this is part of the Aira partnership, Aira Access site, I think. Is that correct, Janine?
Absolutely, yes. So, and Ryan will tell us a little bit about this at the end of the broadcast, how you can take advantage of our museum offer to take a look at all this content yourself and spend countless hours, as I have already, with some of this content. And the website is very accessible, but as you'll find, with live animals, it's a little bit harder to, get that access going if you've got, say, a live stream or a 360-degree view or something like that. But Shedd has done a great job in accessibility on the website. So let's go see what we've got.
Right. Let's take it away, Julia. Where are we?
Let me go ahead and share my screen. And let's get moving. All right, so I am currently on the Shedd Aquarium homepage, which is at sheddaquarium.org. And they have a really cool animals and exhibits section where you can click through to see all of the animals and select different animals to learn about and see pictures of, and sometimes videos of as well. And then there's also an exhibit section where you can click through to different exhibits like the Caribbean Reef or the Abbott Oceanarium, or it says Polar Play Zone here. And on the exhibit side, they have information about each exhibit and some of the animals that live there, and then some 360 views too. So it's really up to you, Stephanie, where you want to start.
Well, I was told by someone that they had a fascination with sea otters.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
I wonder who that could be.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but can we find maybe an exhibit with the sea otters? I don't know anything about them, where they live, if they're
we had a question
Caribbean.
from an explorer too, who said, so I'm totally blind, have been since birth, what in the world is so cute about sea otters? Oh, where do we start? I mean,
we will now find out.
Okay, so the first thing I did was pull up the sea otter animal page.
Okay.
And the very first thing is a big header picture of a sea otter. And he's looking right at the camera, and he just has a perfectly round little brown and tan fuzzy head and big black eyes and a little black nose and these long white whiskers that curl down off of his nose, cheeks area and over his mouth. And how do you describe how cute they are? They are just so cute.
Well, are they small little animals like the size of a puppy? Or are they large?
Let's see what it says in the page. I know that they're larger than a river otter, probably larger than a cat.
Okay.
But I wonder if it has any actual size information about the sea otters here. Oh, and you can meet each of them each.
Yeah, I think if you meet each of the otters, so there might be some weight information.
Okay, interesting.
Well, let's meet them.
I know Yaku is the largest otter at Shedd, so he might give you the...
Let's see. Oh, you can't actually click through on the... Oh, yeah, you can. Read our sea otter who's who. Here we go.
Oh, who's who?
All right, so first up is Yaku. And Yaku is actually not so much brown as he is a silver color. His head is this very silvery white color, and he has a little bit of lighter coloration, it looks like, in his nose too. And then the fur all over his body is, it looks like a dark undercoat and then longer silver hairs that come off of his body where he's fluffy. And he also has lovely whiskers coming off of his nose. And here is some information about Yaku. It says Yaku, the adult male in the group, is the largest. A Shedd resident since 2001, he was born at the Seattle Aquarium in 2000. Yaku is about 4 feet long and weighs around 70 pounds. He has a white face. Trainers describe him as easygoing, and you have a good chance of seeing him take a nap in the car wash strip kelp in the Regenstein sea otter habitat. And then we have Cooper and Watson are both rescued southern sea otter pups that arrived at Shedd in July of 2019. They're the babies. It says at a little over a year old, Cooper is already starting to get gray around the face with a white chin and white eyebrows, giving him a recognizable pattern to spot at Shedd. And he is significantly darker than Yaku. He's almost like black and dark brown all over his body, but he still has these bright white whiskers against his face. And in this picture of Cooper, the baby, you can see his ears. It's a side view of his head. So you have his profile and his dark little face with his black eye, and then they have the little tiniest ears right in the center of the side of their heads. They're like little clamshell shaped ears, and they're so darling.
Oh, that's just horrible. I see why a certain person loves the otters.
They are very
They
cute.
sort of look like
Sounds
stuffed animals.
so
I mean,
cute.
come on.
Just cute.
They're like teddy bears with little teeny tiny ears on the side of their head and huge whiskers. Just darling.
Oh,
Do you want to hear any more descriptions of the individual otters? Or do you want me to go back to like more?
well, let's go on back because I think there's an otter. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ashley. There's an Otter Exhibit also, or
Yes, there is an otter exhibit at Shedd. In our Abbott Oceanarium, I said there's an otter exhibit there.
Okay, let's see if I can find that in Abbott Oceanarium.
and is that the 360 view as well for you, Julia? Or
Let me see. There is a Dolphin Playtime video in that exhibit. I don't see a 360 for this one, but there is quite a bit of information about, it says, the Abbott Oceanarium immerses you in the vibrant coastal ecosystem of the Pacific Northwest. As you stroll along the coast, encounter beluga whales, Pacific white-sided dolphins, sea lions, and sea otters. You'll also find colorful fishes and invertebrates that make their home where fresh water flows into the ocean, or where tides turn seascapes to landscapes and back again each day. And then there's a Meet the Dolphins and a Meet the Belugas section, kind of like what we just did with the otters.
oh, let's meet the dolphins.
Okay.
I'm a dolphin fan. I mean, all of them are great. After today, I'm going to love all of them. But I know about dolphins because of Flipper. So,
All right, so there does appear to be about 90-second long video of Dolphin Playtime here. You want me to hit play on that one
Sure.
and describe? Okay. Okay, so what we have here is a buoy floating in the water, and one of the dolphins has just grabbed a string that's coming off the edge of the buoy and is swimming and pulling it along the top of the water. And now 2 dolphins are playing with that same buoy, kind of nudging it around and swimming side by side, diving underwater together. And these dolphins are mostly a dark gray with a lighter white stripe along their side and black noses. And they're continuing to play with the buoy as it floats. One of them is kind of riding along it with it trailing on its back. And you can see their white and black dorsal fins poking out of the water as they swim along the surface playing together. Can you hear the music?
I can.
Okay. So this is their playtime music, I guess.
I'm
That
thinking
is definitely Dolphin Playtime music.
it sounds like you could really get a lot of play out of that music.
So they just seem to really enjoy kind of playing with this inflatable buoy and pulling it around together and diving together and getting a little workout for their tug-of-war teeth. So that's that. And here's some information about the dolphins themselves in this exhibit. The first one is a photo of a dolphin whose head is poking out of the water, and I can get a better look at her actual features here. She is mostly sort of a medium gray color with white across her face, over her eye, and down her side. And then the very tip of her nose or her beak is a very darker black color. And she has a very small black eye in the center of that white stripe down her side. And her fins are all a darker color, like a black color. And it says her name is Cruz, and she's a female, and she's the oldest. She's also one of the larger animals at 6 feet and 5 inches and 205 pounds.
Oh.
Cruz was about 6 when she arrived at Shedd with 3 other dolphins in March of 1991, about 6 weeks before the opening of the oceanarium. And then there's another dolphin called Cottrell. He's visibly the largest dolphin at 7 feet and 280 pounds. Or she is visibly the largest one. And she has a tall triangular shaped dorsal fin with a white stripe along the edge. And then there's one called Munchkin. He's been there since she has been there since 2015. She is a petite 6 feet long and 195 pounds.
Petite.
And then there's one boy, his name is Sagu, and he was born in Secluded Bay on May 28th, 2012, and his name means joy in Tlingit. And as the first successful lag birth at Shedd, he is a joy, and he is 6'3" and 205 pounds, but still growing. He's the baby of the family, it seems.
Yeah, and their coloring is similar. It sounds like they have the white stripe down the side. And
yeah, they're all pretty similar. There's some variations in the outlines of their markings and the difference in the shading on their dorsal fins, which is the fin on their back, but they look largely similar.
Do you mind if I spin for a second and talk a little bit about their coloring?
I was going to ask you, is there something to that?
Yes, there is. You'll find many aquatic animals have this dark on the top, light on the bottom coloring. It's called counter shading. And the reason you'll find it in many aquatic animals is because it's a way for them to sort of blend in with the water. So if you imagine something that likes to eat a dolphin, like a predator, swimming over the top of a dolphin, maybe they're at the very surface of the water and the dolphin is below. When they look down, that dark back color helps them blend in with the deeper, darker parts of the water. But then if you imagine it the other way around with that predator swimming below the dolphin and looking up, then those light colors, that bright white color underneath them helps them blend in with the sunlight and the lighter parts of the water. So you'll find it on Pacific white-sided dolphins, which are the species of dolphins that live at Shedd. You'll find them on most penguins. That's why penguins are black and white, because that black and white coloring helps them blend in. You'll find it sometimes even on certain stingray species.
Okay.
Very cool.
Very cool. So that's our dolphin.
All right, and then also in this oceanarium section, there's a Meet the Belugas.
Yes,
Okay.
that's Belugas.
Let's see what they're up to. All right, it says with a few key characteristics and enough whales within view to make comparisons, you can begin to figure out who's who among Shedd's 8 belugas and even get some insights into their social relationships. It looks like Auric is the biggest beluga. And so let's get a beluga description first. These are white whales. It looks like they're almost entirely white with a head shaped like a dolphin where they have the long nose, but instead of their head starting way back at the base of their snout, they have a big bulging head that comes almost out all the way to the tip of their nose. I am so sorry, my doorbell just rang. Just a minute.
Somebody else is attracted to the belugas.
And we're back. Okay. So they have these big bulging heads that go out almost all the way to the front of their nose, and they have a teeny tiny little eye behind the center, the mouth line down their snout. Their eye sits right behind where their mouth is. So they've got this like very smiley looking nose, and they look like just happy little whales. And from the front view, when you see the tip of their beak or their snout, it's got this little like inverted U shape, and then their mouth comes down and then it curves back out down their nose and towards their eyes. So it really does look like they're smiling right at the camera when you see them from the front, which is darling. And do you want to hear about a couple of the specific ones here, their sizes and all that? Okay. So Oryx is the biggest, and he is the biggest animal at the aquarium overall. It says born in 2003, the 14-foot, 2,100-pound whale arrived at Shedd in September 2017. So these guys are significantly bigger than the dolphins. And then there is Beethoven, who's the oldest adult male and the second largest at 14 feet and 1,800 pounds. So he's a big boy as well. And then it looks like the smaller ones are, here's a 3-year-old female who arrived, she weighed about 700 pounds when she arrived, and now she's all the way up to 1,600 pounds. So they all seem to be quite large. Ashleigh, do you have anything you want to add about the belugas?
Yes.
Sure. I'll talk a little bit about their coloring. You find beluga whales in colder, snowier parts of the Arctic. So that white coloring does help them blend in. But you'll find when belugas or whales are born, they're actually a dark gray color. So they'll sort of use that coloring to sort of blend in with the murkier parts of the water. So they tend to be born in estuaries, which tend to be shallower areas. So that coloring helps them blend in there as well. The blubber, you notice a lot of them are a lot bigger than the other animals, so they have blubber on their bodies, and that blubber will help them stay warm in those really chilly waters. One of the things that's distinct about beluga whales along their backs, and many whales have a fin, or even dolphins have a fin on their backs, but beluga whales don't. They have like a long ridge, and that ridge will sort of function as an ice cracker. So if they're swimming below the surface of the water and in the water and they come across some ice and they want to come up from the ice, so they can use that ridge to crack the ice and come up and get a little air.
Realize that.
Very cool.
I was getting belugas and narwhal narwhals mixed up because narwhals are the ones with the tusks.
Yes, but they're visually, I think, pretty similar. I can see that. Yeah. And also I wanted to mention, you mentioned that pronounced head. That's called a melon. And so the melon on a beluga whale actually functions as a form of sonar. So they're able to sort of send out waves so that they can find out if there's food in the area or if there's something else coming, and then they can also get a signal back so they can find out what's around them. So it sort of function as a sonar or a radar.
Well, Ashleigh, with them being so large, how do you keep them fed? I mean, that might sound a little basic, but they're huge. So
they are pretty big, I said, and we have our own kitchen that feeds all of the animals that live in the oceanarium. I said, so our staff, our animal care staff, prepares several meals a day for them. I said, so our largest whales probably eat about 50 pounds of restaurant quality seafood every day. And so throughout the day, that food is prepared for them. And so as they're interacting with their trainers, I said, and they're doing training exercises and going throughout their day, I said, they're having those meals.
Okay. So that's our beluga.
That's the belugas. Okay. So how have I backed all the way up to sea otter? Let's see. Okay, so this is within still the oceanarium exhibit. And it looks like there are also sea lions in this exhibit, which I'm able to click through. Ooh. And these are California sea lions. And the photograph that they have as the header is great. He's a sea lion looking right at the camera, and he's got his tongue sticking out. Sea lions are, how do you describe a sea lion? He's a bit like a dog-shaped animal, but they're sleek and shiny, and you can see that they have fur all over their bodies, but this one must have just gotten out of the water because he's still shining all over. And his nose is right up against the camera, and you can see that he has very long and pronounced whiskers. They must be several inches long, maybe even like 6 inches long. And he has a little pink tongue sticking out of his mouth and eyes on either side of his head at where his snout meets his head. And then on the side of his head also has sort of like an otter, little tiny, like clam shell shaped ears, just minuscule little ears. And then I can't see his tail, but his body is going back out into the clear blue water in this photograph.
Mhm.
And it says California only begins to describe sea lions' range. They're found along coasts and on offshore islands from British Columbia to the southern tip of Baja California, Mexico. But the lion part of these marine mammals' name is spot on. Sea lions are among the most vocal of all mammals, and the mountainous males can emit reverberating barks to defend their territories or court females. And it says a home for rescued sea lions. 3 of Shedd's sea lions are rescues, but each came to the aquarium in a different way. Cruz was a pup when he was found blinded in both eyes on the California coast, while Laguna was found stranded and starving on California beaches not once but twice. Biff was tagged as a nuisance animal for repeatedly preying on endangering Chinook salmon on the Columbia River. Culling can be the next step, but the government, wildlife agencies, and the marine mammal community collaborated to find him a home at Shedd. And this appears to be a quote from Duke Stacy, who's the animal care specialist. The trust Cruz, our rescued blind sea lion, has with us is truly remarkable. If you were to come to Shedd and see him zipping through the water and running around his habitat, you'd never know he had any visual impairment. And there actually is a video here that's called Training with Sea Lion Cruz, who is the visually impaired one. Should I hit play on that guy? Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, so Cruz is following a baton with a red ball at the end of it that a trainer has. And as he touches his nose to the ball on the end of this little baton, he's getting treats that appear to be small fish. And the trainer is a man in wading boots and khaki pants and a polo shirt. And he is petting Cruz between giving him a treat and leading him with his, looks like a training baton. It says he listens for the whistle. And then he touches his nose to the baton that the trainer is moving to various places, and then he gets a treat. It says, like many animals at Shedd, oops, I missed it. He's telling him, good job, you did it, and give him a treat and a pet. And then Cruz gave the trainer his fin to shake, his side fin, and now he's waving his fin. And it says that all of his training comes in handy during veterinarian checkups. He's learned to respond to words like follow, wait, and swim.
Oh, how special.
Gee, how would you like to be his Aira agent, Julia?
Yeah, any day he wants.
That would be so cool. Yeah.
Just with a little bit more about Cruz.
Mhm.
Exciting things. I don't know if it was apparent from the video, but that training stick that the trainer is using with him actually has it's like a rattle, so that Cruz is able to hear it since he's completely blind, and so he's able to. I said all of the other sea lions and many of the other animals at Shedd have that similar one, but it doesn't have that sound inside it, so he's able to hear it and follow us at where the trainer wants him to go, and they communicate with him that way. I also learned that he can map out areas with his whiskers. So those whiskers that are on his face that Julia described earlier are known as vibrissae, and they're kind of sensory organs, just similar to the polka dot catfish we talked about at the beginning of the video. And so he's able to use those whiskers to map out areas and learn the space of where he is.
Amazing. Amazing. That's just amazing. Yeah.
Really cool.
I think we found our Aira mascot now.
Yeah, right.
His name is Cruz, like
Yes.
Cruz.
Like
Oh.
C-R-U-Z.
Many of the animals who live at Shedd are named for the places where they would be found in the wild. I believe Cruz was actually found near Santa Cruz, California. So
Okay. Blind, and was there ever? I'm just curious. Did you ever figure out what happened to him, or
Yes. They found him disoriented on a beach, and when they finally took him for a medical exam, they found bullet fragments in his head, and they believed that he was shot by someone.
No. Oh, well, I'm so happy he's at Shedd, living a good life.
Yeah, so are we. It's a great addition to our family of animals.
Well, shall we leave this particular exhibit and maybe
let's
try some of those 360 views?
Yeah, let's see where we can find some 360s. I see there's a wild reef, a Caribbean reef, The Amazon Rising exhibit is also on here. Rivers, oceans, Great Lakes, stingrays and gardens.
Stingrays and gardens. And again, that's a 360 also?
I don't know. I have to click through to find out. You want me to just start at the top and see where we can find some 360s?
Yeah, let's.
Okay.
They seem to be popular and give people clearly a lot of.
Here we go. So this one is, the first one I clicked through to is called Wild Reef. It says home to sharks, rays, corals, and reef fishes. Wild Reef brings together remarkable predators and prey in constant motion. Immerse yourself in a diver's eye view of a diverse and colorful marine ecosystem. Explore the reefs of the Philippines and see how Shedd helps conserve many of these remarkable animals in the wild. And there's a 360 here called Underwater in the Wild Reef.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and get that one going. And you can hear the bubbles, right?
Yes. Oh, that's soothing.
Here we have a zebra shark cruising along in front of the camera. It's a fairly large shark that looks like a stripe down his side. And the atmosphere here is clear blue water with some blue and green, different shades of reef below. Some of it is shaped like sort of a brain shape, and some of it has kind of a mossy rock appearance. And right now, 2 yellow and gray fish with black stripes on the side called golden trevallies just swam by right in front of the camera. There's a sandbar shark, which has a white belly and a gray back like Ashleigh was describing earlier. A bright yellow and black fish is swimming among the reef down at the bottom. And a saw shark who has a big long nose like the blade of a saw. And the shark just swam over the camera, so you got a view at his belly as he swam over. And 2 small bright yellow and blue fish called raccoon butterfly fish swam right towards the camera as well. And it's sort of just constant activity, all kinds of different species swimming around, which I guess is kind of the idea of a reef. I see a black and white striped, it looks like it might be a clownfish. And some sharks cruising by.
Various sharks, just all kinds of different sharks.
Different kinds of sharks. I've seen a sand shark and a saw shark. There's something called a humphead wrasse going by now, which is a big, chunky fish with a big bulge on the top of his head. Another saw shark swimming by is a gray shark with that big, long nose protrusion. Large shark. This is called a white-spotted guitarfish, which is a very flat gray fish with white spots. Not fluke, swam by at the last second there. So that is the end of that view. And just the sort of overall vibe there was like very busy, but still calming. Everybody kind of just cruising around slowly, even though it's lots of different activity going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, coral reefs are like that. I said they're very busy. They're very busy, but yeah, they're also seem like soothing spaces. So just to answer something you asked a few moments ago, there are a few shark species that live in that exhibit. I think we saw most of them. They're sandbar sharks that have the ones that are gray on the top and white on the bottom. I said they're kind of we call them the sharkiest sharks. When people imagine a shark, they usually imagine something that looks like a sandbar shark. They're about 6 feet long. I think each one probably weighs somewhere between 150 and 200 pounds, if I were to guess. They're a faster swimming shark, and one of the ways that we can look at them and know that is by their tails. They have sort of a shorter triangular shaped tail. And then if you compare them to another species of shark that lives in the wild reef called the zebra shark, is sort of a tannish yellow shark with dark spots on its body. I'll talk in a minute about why it's called a zebra shark, even though it has spots. But it has a very long, wavy tail. And so those types of sharks typically are more of a cruising type of shark, as Julia described them. And they swim through the water more slowly. They sort of have, their mouths are a little bit rounder. And so it goes to what they eat. They tend to suck their food rather than chasing their food like a sandbar shark does. They tend to suck their food out of crevices and corals. So they'll eat things like clams, and they have strong jaws, so they can break their food apart and eat it that way. Now, the reason that they're called zebra sharks, even though they have spots on their bodies, is because when they're born, or hatched rather, zebra sharks have dark stripes on their bodies, but as they get bigger and older, those stripes disappear and they turn into spots, which is why they're called zebra sharks. There are two other species that I don't think we saw in that video. There are also black-tip reef sharks, which are a smaller shark species. They probably get to be about 3 or 4 feet long as adults, and as their name suggests, they have black tips on their fins. And then there's also a wobbegong shark, which is a bottom-dwelling shark, so you won't necessarily find it swimming through the habitat like some of the other sharks from the video I said, but you'll find them sort of, they're smaller sharks, they're a little bit flatter and kind of like a mottled, brownish, white mottled color, and you'll find them a lot of times on the bottom of the exhibit, and they have tassels along their mouths, and so when something comes by that they want to eat in the wild, they would be able to jump up and grab it, so they're ambush predators. So one of the things I think is pretty exciting is that we have different shark species, I said, but they're all very different and represent different types of sharks.
Wow.
So I was wondering, Ashleigh, if you could explain to everybody, what is coral exactly? Because we hear a lot about it in the reefs, and there, as Julia described, there are different kinds, but what is coral?
Coral is ultimately an animal. It's an animal that often looks a bit like a plant. And actually what's exciting about coral is that there are technically many animals working together. So one individual animal is called a polyp, and then those polyps will sort of form a large coral. So many polyps together is a coral, and then many corals together is a reef. And so one of the reasons that we know that we define coral as an animal rather than a plant, even though they sort of look a little bit like plants, is they eat food. So they have little tiny tentacles that they're able to grab small animals that are floating in the water and other food that floats in the water and eat it. They grow like people, they give out waste like people, and they also reproduce. Animals are also defined because they move at some point in their life cycle. So most corals, again, like plants, spend most of their lives rooted in one place. But when they're very young, when they're larvae, they do move around for a little bit. And since they're free moving during that part of their life, they're considered animals.
And so in the coral reef idea, I'm imagining something round. The animals are literally swimming around this round coral. Is more like an island or something like that?
Again, I think using our plant analogy, I think that sometimes they're swimming around them, sometimes they're swimming through them, sometimes they're under little parts of them. So there are many different shapes of coral depending on.
Okay.
So it's like different animal species, like you have different types of sharks or different types of fish. There are also different types of coral. So when Julia was describing one that had like a brain shape, there's actually a coral called brain coral. There's coral called finger coral. There's elkhorn coral that looks like the ear of an elk. And so it's that particular coral is sort of flat and wide. And so you'll find that these coral reef systems are really important for other animals. And so you may find that coral reefs are maybe about 1% of the ocean floor, but 25 or 30% of the world's animals use them and live around them. So they'll use them to kind of hide. Smaller animals will use them to hide in between different branches of coral. So if you have a branching or like a longer, skinnier coral, some animals will use them as food. Some animals will use them as places to find other animals that they want to eat. So they're very important parts of our ecosystem. Does that answer your question, Stephanie?
Yes. I mean, it's just amazing. We have not probably covered 1/4 of the Shedd Aquarium, and I'm just fascinated with what we're learning here today.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and as you can tell, there is a ton of content. We've only touched on a couple of the, a couple of the 360 views and some of the videos and things. There are other videos that have a lot of narration with them, but there are also some programs, and I'm not sure in the few minutes that we have left here if Ryan is with us. If you are, Ryan, can you jump on? And we'll talk about our offer for Shedd. Not sure, Ryan, maybe.
In the meantime, while we wait, sound from Ashleigh's
I know.
exhibit. I love the sound of water, ocean, bubbling brooks, things
Isn't that great? Now, you guys also have penguins, right?
We do have penguins. We have two penguin species.
Check out a penguin before we go.
Yeah, let's look at some penguins.
Penguins. Let's see. All animals. Penguins. Here they are. All right. It looks like they have Magellanic penguins and Rockhopper penguins.
Oh, I love the Rockhoppers, the little guys. They're so cute.
Yeah, the Rockhoppers are small penguins with black heads and big white bellies, and then they have yellow feathers coming off the side of their heads and orange beaks. And then the Magellanic penguins are black and white, sort of more traditionally what you picture as a penguin. They have black backs and black fins and white bellies and some white on their face and black beaks. And it looks like they have a video here called Caring for Abandoned and Endangered African Penguin Chicks. That one's actually a bit long for what we have left time-wise, I think. But if you click through on either side of these penguins, it says Magellanic penguins. The boldly banded Magellanic penguins live along the coast of southern South Africa, fishing the rich waters in the Strait of Magellan. Both the birds and the water passage were named for the Portuguese explorer who, in 1520, was the first European to encounter them. And there's some photos here of the penguins looking right into the camera, and they have black beaks and black around their eye, and then a big white ring along the top ridge of their head and under their chin. So it's almost like they're wearing like a little white fuzzy like muff thing around their heads. And they have very clever expressions on their faces always, it seems like. And then the other kind is the Rockhoppers. And if I click through on them, they have a little bit more menacing expressions. They're yellow feathers that go over their eyes and kind of come out of their head in a big tuft. Gives them sort of like a little angry eyebrow on their faces.
I said they look like supervillains.
Yeah, a little bit. They're darling, but they look a little angry. But they also have that same look when they look in the camera like they know something you don't. And they have bright orange beaks. And for rockhoppers, it says, rockhopper penguins were named for their unique mode of locomotion. Unlike other penguin species, these 1.5 foot tall birds hop, almost bounce from place to place, a useful adaptation to the rocky terrain of their windswept islands around South Africa's southern tip. They even hop into the water feet first. It's pretty cute.
Ashleigh, just one quick question. So the coloring on the rockhoppers, is that, again, to blend in, or is there something different about the feathers?
No, it's actually the same. So yeah, they have that same dark black back feathers, white stomach and chest feathers, and just like with the other animals, I said they're able to use it to blend in with the water, like the Pacific white-sided dolphins. So again, in their case, I said they could be predators, they could be prey, but either way, it helps them hide in the water.
And their feathers are yellow, right? No.
The rockhopper penguins have little tufts of yellow feathers at the top of their heads. So one of the ways that you can tell, there are 17 penguin species in the world, and one of the ways that you can usually tell them apart is by their head. So this particular species, even though they're black on the back, they're white on the stomach and chest. They have kind of little yellow or yellowish orange feathers over their eyes and then on the sides of their head.
Okay, it just sounds like a odd but very interesting, fascinating look.
It is.
They are quite cool. Well, if all of this sounds really fun and exciting to everybody, guess what? The Shedd Aquarium access offer does extend to the online content. So if you would like to visit the Shedd Aquarium and take a look at all of the free content that's here, you can do that with an agent, just like what we did today. Or Ashleigh, there are a number of paid experiences that folks can have online with Shedd, right?
That's absolutely true. We have virtual animal encounters. So when Shedd Aquarium was open, we had encounters where people could come and meet animals. And so we've continued those programs online. You can meet a penguin. like a penguin or a Magellanic penguin, is that you can meet a sea lion. Excuse me. Like we talked about a little bit earlier, is that you can meet, let's see, there's penguins, sea lions, sea otters, and that might be what we're doing right now. I said I'll have to double check and see if there's a fourth one, but I believe you can definitely meet those three.
And that we also have a paid experience, right?
Oh, how fun. Yeah, and the offer does extend, so you can have your Aira agent on with you for the paid experiences as well. So feel free to take part in one of those. And you can have your agent along for the description, and away we go. And since the museum is not open right now, this is how we're able to bring you this content, because Shedd made the commitment to be an access partner, and we're really excited about that. Now, we are in the process of getting that set up, so just let your agent know that you would like to visit the Shedd Aquarium, and this is definitely a free access offer, and they will be able to find that under the promotions section of the free offers. And if it's not there already, because Ryan's working hard on it, it'll be there in the next 24 hours. But everyone, please come and pay Shedd a visit. Now, okay, we're going to finish by talking gift shop, because
Gift shop.
we're all about the gift shop. And
Yes.
I heard from somebody that there's some fun new merchandise. Julia, can we check out the gift shop?
Yes, we can. All right, so I am in the gift shop. We've got all collections, apparel, accessories, gifts about, and then there's a search function. I'm guessing you want me to search sea otter. Huh?
Well, we do. Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
No.
So there's a sea otter patch, which is a little, 3.5-inch patch that you could put on like a hat or a jacket or a backpack.
I used to have my museum sweatshirt with all the patches when I was a kid.
This is a little sea otter lying on his back with his hands on his tummy, looking out at you with his little black eyes and his black nose. And it says Shedd Aquarium Chicago at the bottom there. And you can find that design on lots of different merchandise. It looks like on a hoodie, a big gray hoodie.
I was wondering about the hoodies and stuff.
A t-shirt. And then there is also a teal colored sweatshirt that has a similar design. And then there appears to be another sea otter design that is a sea otter lying at the bottom rim of a circle. And in the background of this light blue circle is a navy blue image of the skyline of Chicago. And the sea otter has two little hearts coming out of his head, like he loves Chicago, and it says Shedd Aquarium Chicago.
That's cute.
And that design comes on. It looks like a royal blue tote bag. That design without the hearts is on a long sleeve t-shirt and a ball cap and a short sleeve t-shirt as well. And then there are 2 sea otter plushes.
I was going to ask if there were any plushes. Oh my gosh.
One of them is 10 inches, and it's a rather realistic looking sea lion.
That would
Now,
be
what
fun.
is a plush, you guys? What's a plush?
Like a little stuffed animal.
Okay.
And so that one he's holding a purple starfish on his chest, like he's getting ready to eat it. And then there's another one that's a 5-inch, it's called a 5-inch Rolly plush.
And he's
It's
probably
just like
on
this
his
little
back.
ball, almost like a ball-shaped plush. And has a little otter face, and he has little tiny arms that looks like he's trying to hug you, and little ears on the side of his head.
Oh my gosh.
And he's got a tan face and a brown body. It's just a little, little tiny stuffed animal, but so cute.
A lot of heart-melting merchandise in here.
Yes.
I was just
Very
going to say,
fun.
now, do we have a plush of Cruz, the sea lion?
Yeah.
Hey,
That would be totally
let's
fun.
see what we have for sea lions.
Oh no.
Oh no, sea lion didn't yield any results. Let's see.
No.
Well, they're coming out with a new capsule collection. So what they've been doing is they've been coming out with small collections. So one is based on sea otters, as we see. One is based on penguins. And so I believe maybe if people write in and say they want sea lions.
There you go.
I want an
our
autograph
mascot.
picture with
There you go.
Cruz.
We want Cruz, the sea lion.
Cruz.
Cruz already has, now he's got a serious built-in fan club here.
Cruising with Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I would like to thank you so much, Ashleigh Braggs from the Shedd Aquarium, for being with us today and really enriching our visit to the aquarium. Oh my gosh, I want to go so badly.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking with all of you and answering your questions. And hopefully, I'll get to see you all in person at some point soon.
oh,
We
yes.
definitely hope
Yes.
so. We definitely hope so. Whenever we all get back to, the new reality where we can travel and do things. I'm about an hour from Chicago, and my husband loves the Fields Museum and a couple of the planetariums. So I have a feeling we'll be in your neck of the woods soon. So as soon as we can. Yeah, definitely. Well, our next episode of Afternoon at the Museum, as we noted, will be next Friday, the 22nd, when we will take a look at the content from the Civil and Human Rights Museum in Atlanta. And again, that was a suggestion from one of our explorers. So if you have suggestions for museums, we are ramping up for Black History Month, followed by Women's History Month. And we're going to go every Friday during Black History Month. We're going to try that out. We're in the planning right now. So if there's something that you want us to do, we will be happy to do that. We can even revisit museums. Oh, and we did forget during our moment of silence today, we did lose one of the Tuskegee Airmen, who may be one of the last ones. And we were not able to find the name of this gentleman, but he did pass away recently. And so we are losing that group of gentlemen, exponentially, which is unfortunate. But we do have our visit to the Tuskegee Airmen, which will be up and available for you here very, very soon. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie Watts, our wonderful host and a discoverer of awesome things.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for making time to spend with us this afternoon.
Sure. And our wonderful agent, Julia. Thank you so much, Julia, for the great descriptions. And now I have to go and buy that 10-inch plush now.
It's very cute.
Awesome. And a special thanks to our YouTube guru who is working hard behind the scenes, Mr. Ryan Bishop. And with that, I am Janine Stanley, the Director of Customer Communications. Got it right that time. And everyone, please have a wonderful day, a safe weekend, and take care. We will see you next week at Afternoon at the Museum.